Om Soham Tetvamasi. Om, you and I are one with the one universal God of all creation and no other. Jai Bhagavanji, victory to God the Beloved, that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are. $100 million words. $100 million words. That is about how many words have been written about religion, about God. This Joy Day, this is our Joy Day, it's Kali Yuga time, it's Sunday. There are ministers, priests, rabbis, imams, all over the world doing exactly what I'm doing. Talking to people, preaching to people, teaching people. Everyone has a book. Our book is called the Holy Book of Destiny. Like other books, you can buy it on Amazon for $12.95. Theirs are more expensive. 100 million words. You know, people call me up, they write me emails, and they say, this what you're teaching is wrong, this is wrong. That what you're teaching, that's wrong. You're an ignorant man, you're an egotistical man. You're setting yourself up as some kind of Messiah. Sometimes I wish that was the truth. But it's not the truth. You see, I am not here to explain you to yourself. I'm not here to set out another philosophy or theology. Somebody wrote me last week and said, everything you teach has been taught. 100 million words. If everything I teach hasn't been taught, or at least as far as theology, as far as philosophy, as far as all of that goes, then somebody missed the boat. For how long have people said, love your neighbor? For how long have people said, forgive those who trespass against you? Did Jesus teach anything new? No. Did Buddha teach anything new? No. Buddha reacted to a decadent and befouled Hindu priesthood that sold spirituality on the open market like fish. I am a simple man. Oh, I have a good mind. I've cultivated it. I enjoy it. I like to solve things. I like to understand things. And I like to express what I come to understand. But that's not why I'm here. I'm a simple soul that made a supreme sacrifice twice and made a vow of compassion once that won God's new covenant and supreme promise for all of humanity. That's all I am. I'm a person who comes with a gift in my hand. A gift that cost me everything, beyond everything. You see, that may mean I'm not that smart a person. Suppose I won the woman won last week, the $350 million lotto. And then suppose that I went out and gave it all away. Would that be smart? It would be newsworthy, but it wouldn't be smart. Because you know that the people you gave it to are just going to go spend it, and then you're going to be destitute. No, it wouldn't be smart. I'm not a smart person. Those of you who criticize me because I don't teach anything new are right. Your criticism is wrong, but the content of it is right. Find me one teacher that teaches anything new that hasn't been taught in the last 10 to 20,000 years, and I will show you a charlatan. You see, I'm not a teacher. I'm not even a good preacher. I'm certainly not a theologian or a philosopher. I have a degree in psychology. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in behavioral sciences, which is a combination of psychology, anthropology, and sociology. I even have a marriage family therapy license. But I'm none of that. So those of you who come challenging my intelligence, God bless you, you're probably right. I probably am not as smart as you. I'm probably not as intelligent as you. Certainly my IQ doesn't match up to yours, I'm sure. I'm not as tricky or as slick as you or other people. If I was, we wouldn't be sitting here with a small sanctuary with a few people in it. We'd be sitting here with a church of 10,000, 100,000 people. Huh? No. And please don't think that any of you who are here, please don't excuse me. Please don't excuse me by saying, well, small is beautiful. You idiot. Our goal, our purpose, our mission in this world is to spread God's new covenant to all souls and create a divine critical mass in which there are enough souls on this planet at any one time who are Maitreyans, who have my holy initiation in God's new covenant and supreme promise and are fulfilling it, that God will spontaneously spread His new covenant into the hearts of all souls. And in that, we're failures so far. But then, Jesus was a failure. Oh, they say, oh, he had thousands of people who followed him. You know, Christians love to do this. Oh, he had thousands who followed him. How come we only hear about 12? How come we only hear about 12? If there are these thousands. Thousands came to hear him. More thousands go to hear the Rolling Stones than ever went to hear Jesus. But they don't come to hear me. They don't come to hear me because this is the Kali Yuga. Kali means darkness, delusion, illusion, confusion, destruction. Anybody want to deny that this is the Kali Yuga? We're playing a stupid, stupid waiting game with Iran. I promise you that unless Israel takes its fate into its own hands, we will see the day that the Iranians will nuke Israel. And if they pay attention to Barack Obama or the pundits of this world, that is exactly what's going to happen to them. Sun Tzu and other military strategists have made it clear that when you haven't quite got your duckies in a row, when you haven't quite got your weaponry ready to go, you ask for talks. And what are the Iranians doing now? They're asking for talks. Well, underground, working at top speed to build a missile to destroy Israel. But you see, I'm not a political scientist. I see what I see. I know what I know. My intelligence is limited. Anything that is beyond my meager intelligence is God's work. Of myself, I am nothing. With God, all things are possible. And so I write things. God writes them. Sometimes I get in the way and screw it up. But I've learned to stay out of His way most of the time. And so sometimes I write things. But my philosophy, my theology, my psychology is irrelevant. My organizational structure. I am the worst organizer on the planet. I couldn't organize something that was organized already. In the main, I don't like organization. It spawns bureaucracy, it spawns impersonality, it spawns all kinds of crud. The Spirit is free. The Spirit is nebulous. Organization is like a little tiny box that you have to cram everything into. And then you have bureaucrats. Oh, every church has bureaucrats. You don't think so? Just go try to do something in a church that the board of directors hasn't approved of. Board of directors, of course, we know that every board of directors has a direct pipeline to God, don't we? When I was younger, I got involved with the Lutheran church in my neighborhood by chasing a bunch of vandals away from it and getting appointed as kind of the unofficial guardian of the church. I ended up carving the cross that sits today at the Our Savior Lutheran Church in Westchester, California, above the dais, along with Pastor Monroe Husfeld, who built the church. Pastor Monroe Husfeld was not a good speaker. He could snooze out more people than you can think of. But he was a good man. He and his wife and his family were harassed mercilessly by people with money who wanted control over the activities of this church. And he wouldn't yield to it. So finally he moved away. About 5-10 years ago, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I tracked down Pastor Husfeld, Pastor Monroe Husfeld. He was living in a little rinky-dink town in the middle of dusty Texas someplace, working as a termite exterminator 5 days a week and preaching to a congregation of 35 people on Sunday. There's your bureaucracy. This man had more heart than anybody I have ever seen in that church since. Not to put them down, but to put him up. And they drove him out. Not because he was not spiritually right, not because he wasn't even biblically right as far as Christianity goes, but because he wasn't politically right. He wouldn't bow down and kiss the floor before big donors. I love the man. I grieve for him. But I grieve even more for the people who drove him out. Did you ever read that Jesus had any part whatsoever with a bureaucracy?
Yeah.
Did he say, okay, Paul, he's the CEO, you're the treasurer, you're this, you're that? Did you ever see that?
No.
You ever hear that? Or Peter, I mean. What about Buddha? I know he had a community, and he was a prince. He knew how to organize things. But we don't hear much about this community, do we? We don't hear that he had a hierarchy, a board of directors. I think perhaps Muhammad was a little bit better organized because Hamza, one of his main people, was a military man. So they had to fight battles, so they organized under that. And they did have some form of organization. But it still wasn't the modern bureaucracy. But you see, I'm not here to explain Islam. I'm not here to explain Christianity. I'm not here to explain Buddhism. I'm not even here to explain Adhyatma Yoga Dharma. I'm not even here to explain God's eternal universal religion. That is not what I came here for. I'm just a simple soul like you, whom God took into perfect final union with himself and offered me a chance to make a sacrifice that was beyond any sacrifice that's ever been made. I'm sorry, I don't mean any arrogance by that, and I don't mean any elitism by that, and I don't mean any pomposity by that. Let's think about it for a minute. What is the ultimate? Isn't God the ultimate? If you're an atheist, well, take a walk, okay? I have no patience for you at all. If you're an atheist, you're as stupid as a man who puts a garbage can over his head, walks out into the noonday sun, and then says there is no sun. And if that insults you, good. But God asked me to make this sacrifice. God is the supreme. God is the ultimate. God, there's nothing higher than God. Anybody who thinks there's something higher than God has got to explain that to me. I don't care if you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, whatever it is. Is there anything higher than Allah? Is there anything higher than Jehovah? Is there anything higher than Yahweh? How about Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva? Is there anything higher? No. And so when I died at 8 years old, and God took me into perfect final union with Him. Now, let me explain that a minute in the only way that I know how, as a simple man. If you took a drop of water, a single drop of water, and you went down here to the ocean, it's 1 block away from here, by the way, and you went out on a boat and you dropped that drop of water into the ocean, where would the drop of water be? Would it stay a little drop of water floating around in the ocean for all eternity? Or would it be absorbed by the ocean and become the ocean? It would become the ocean. You couldn't find it. It would cease to be a drop, but it would become the ocean. And I ceased to be an individual person, and at that moment became Dare I say it? Dare I say it? I mean, people freak out when you say this, but it's this. I can say, I became one with God, but that kind of shades it a little bit, doesn't it? I became God. God didn't, it's not like my personality became God. I lost my personality. I gave up my personhood. I gave up my individuality. I gave up everything that was separate from God, and suddenly was the ocean. And then God asked me to sacrifice that. To return to this world, to wander in darkness and find my way back home to Him of my own works. You see, the first time is always by grace, and the second time has got to be by works. Grace and works together. The poor fools of this world that believe that everything is by grace. And I know I insult every Protestant walking the planet practically, because most of them believe that. That's not exactly what Martin Luther put on the door of the church, but I'm not here to explain Martin Luther or his thesis. All Martin Luther wanted to do was stop the Catholic Church from being a bunch of greedy bastards that were just as bad as the Hindus were in Buddhist time. Even the Catholic Church admits that it was decadence. But I'm not here to be a historian either. The problem with having a decent mind, not a great mind or a good mind, is that it works. And so I say these things. You can take it or leave it. I don't care. You can take my philosophy or leave it. I don't care. You can take my theology or leave it. I don't care. Because God sent me back here to find my way back to Him. And after 23 years, that's how slow I am, people. 23 years. I found my way back into perfect final union with Him again. And having done so, having once again the drop of water ceased to be the drop of water and became one with the ocean. And then He said, go back now and finish what we started. Or what you started, I don't recall exactly. Doesn't matter. We should have a schism over whether He said what you started or what I started or what we started, right? Oh, you foolish, foolish people. And so, the second time I made that same self-sacrifice. Is there any sacrifice higher than giving up perfect union with God? I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not congratulating myself. I'm not saying, look at me. I don't know why I did it. In fact, I don't know how I did it. If you were to stand right here in front of me and ask me to do it again, I don't know if I could do it again. But I did it twice. And the second time, I was so moved with compassion for the suffering souls of this world that I said to God, as directly as I'm saying this to you right here, I will never again enter into perfect final union with you, Father, until I have seen every last soul in this creation safely home into perfect final union with you before me. But I will return to this world as you have asked, and I will live out this life in this ordinary, frail, inadequate body with its inadequate mind. And then when this body passes away, I will ascend into the spirit realm near to perfect final union with you, but not quite in perfect final union with you. And I will live in the heart of every soul, guiding every soul home to you. This is the truth. This is the truth. And because of that, or in consequence of that, for me to say because of that is only my perception. Nobody can say why God does what He does. But in sequence of that, immediately after that, God said, because of your two self-sacrifices and this vow that you have made, I will make a new covenant with man, that whosoever will receive the enlightenment of your holy initiation and my new covenant and supreme promise thereby, and follow you to the end of his life, I will give that soul what you have sacrificed for the sake of all souls. Namely, exactly, precisely, perfect final union with him. And you will become, as I was, the drop of water that goes into the sea and becomes the sea. Never again to be born into this world to suffer and sorrow and become sick and old and die and be reborn again and again. You will be home forever. This is what God said. I have a dear friend. I love him dearly. He won't even speak to me anymore. He went to a harvest fundamentalist festival and came back saying, I can't even come near you because if I come near you, I have to denounce you as a false prophet. Oh, Mike. Oh, Mike. I'm not a prophet. I've never made a prophet. And I don't prophesy. Therefore, I'm not a prophet. Am I a Messiah? I'm not a Messiah. I'm not even a guru. I'm not... God has called me a Satguru, which means the true teacher. But I'm not even an avatara. If you can Google that, because that's a Hindu word. I'm something different. Many years ago, when I hadn't yet attained my second self-realization and perfect final union with God, I prayed and I prayed and I said, God, what am I then? What am I? What am I? And there's only two little words that came to me. Strangely enough, they were Latin. It was tertium quid, which means the third something. I am not any of the things that you think I am. I'm a simple man who made unbelievably profound sacrifices, not because I'm so great, not because I have a big red S on my chest, but out of compassion for the world, and as a result, won a new covenant from God for you. And a promise from God that when enough people have received his new covenant and are following it according to his instructions by following me to the end of their lives, that he will extend his new covenant. He will give his new covenant to all souls, and every single soul will have the opportunity to come home in a perfect final union with him at the end of their lives. I'm just someone who comes bearing a gift. Do you want it? If you don't want it, you don't understand your situation. It doesn't contradict Jesus. It doesn't contradict Muhammad. It doesn't contradict Buddha or Moses or Abraham or Rama or Krishna. It doesn't contradict anything because it is the third something. See, all of those are the ones and the twos. The blacks and the whites, the yes and the no's. But God said, you are tertium quid. You are the third something. We don't know what you are. And so he called me the Maitreya Kalki Mahavatara Satguru of the age. The one who has come to destroy the age of darkness and bring forth the age of universal God's pure divine truth on earth. And win the universal salvation and liberation of all souls. I'm not a military leader like Muhammad. I'm not a great meditator like Buddha. I'm not a great orator like Jesus was. I have never been up on a mountain and talked to a burning bush in my life. like Moses. I'm just a simple man with a simple gift. Everything else is auxiliary. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I can explain you to a certain degree. I've studied myself long enough that unless you are from another planet, I can probably tell you some things about yourself. I can probably give you some exercises to do that will help you. God has given me something called interdivine communion that I pass on to you, by which you can purify your mind and clarify your mind and learn to see yourself in the mirror of your mind and realize that you are the truth, not that you're looking for the truth. See, I do these things, but those things are not why I'm here. Those things are not my purpose. They're not what's important. What's important is that I won this new covenant for you, and it's sitting here in my open, extended hand for you to take. Oh, I can't tell you how many people have come along and taken and then said, okay, now I'm going to organize this thing. I'm going to do it all. I got to figure it out. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. You, Maitreya, you're supposed to sit in the back seat of the car and I'm supposed to drive. You arrogant, 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 silly people. Our job is to get God's new covenant to as many souls as will receive it of their own free will and self-determinism. This is my sign. This is the Maitreyan sign. God, after many years, for 25 years, we didn't even have a name. Finally, God gave us a name. You are Maitreyans. I am Maitreya. And this is the Maitreyan symbol. It's a Maitreyan greeting. It stands for this. It stands for freedom. Free will is the thumb. The first finger is free choice. The middle finger is self-determinism. This third finger is individual freedom. Because there really is no collective freedom. And the little finger is inescapable, unavoidable personal responsibility. This is our symbol. This is our sign. And so with freedom as a basis, how can anyone tell you, you've got to, you've got to. And yet, I've grown up in this culture. I've grown up in this society. And I have seen that all the big things that get done by corporations. They get done by organizations. So here is my wisdom with regard to all of this. I haven't got a clue. Because my job here isn't to have a clue. My job here is to give this gift that I won. Now somebody last week said, you're a phony. You're a phony. This guy knows me really well. He knows me so well that he's never met me. He's somewhere out there in cyberspace who won't identify himself. He's too much of a coward to identify himself, but he knows me well enough to know that I'm a phony. I want to ask you something. Now, I'm not a phony. Everything that I say to you is the truth. If I didn't say the truth, there'd be more people here. But let's suppose this was all made up. Suppose that, I don't mean that the sacrifices were made up, but the theology and the philosophy, suppose all that was made up. But what would be wrong with a person who would, even if I hallucinated it, that would give up perfect final union with God twice for you? Would that make me a bad guy? Even if I was hallucinating. Suppose you were having a dream. Suppose you were hallucinating and somebody said, okay, here you are, perfect final union with God. It's kind of like, here's the $200 million or the $500 million lotto, now give it away. Only more than that. Suppose it was a hallucination. But I still gave it away. Twice. Suppose it was a hallucination. I still made my vow of compassion. It wasn't a hallucination. Believe me, it was far more real than anything here is. By a million, trillion times. God is the one ultimate reality. But still, wouldn't that say something about the person who was willing to make that sacrifice?
Yes.
I don't mean in the sense of my being a great person. Maybe in the sense of my being a stupid person. What kind of idiot would give up perfect final union with God and put himself at the end of the line of all souls, going home into perfect final union with God? What kind of fool would do that? I am a fool. But I did it. And it was real. But even if it wasn't real, you know, if you said to somebody, okay, I just put $100 million into your bank account and I want you to write checks to give it away to everybody that you know, and the person wrote the checks, even if there wasn't $100 million in his bank account, if he didn't know that, wouldn't he be a good person? Well, you see, I'm not saying I'm a good person. Of myself, I'm nothing. God, with God, everything is possible. But I did these things. You can say it was crazy. You can say it was a hallucination. You weren't there. I mentioned my friend Mike and how he came back from this fundamentalist festival and said he would have to denounce me as a false prophet to my face. Oh, go ahead, Mike. You don't even want to stand in line. How many people do you want to stand in line behind Mike in order to do that? You see? And one of the reasons that he said that he couldn't believe me was because I didn't have any witnesses. Let me think about this a minute. I didn't have any witnesses. Did Jesus have any witnesses when he ascended into heaven and sat at the right hand of God? No, he appeared to people apparently, or so they say, and showed them his wounds before he did that. But did he have one single witness before when he ascended into heaven? Mike, did he? No, he didn't. Well, yes, he did. He had the same witness that I had. I only had one single witness. It's the only witness I need. God is my witness as I am God's witness. God was Jesus' witness as Jesus was God's witness. There were no witnesses that saw Jesus ascend into heaven and sit in the right hand of God. Mike, bring forth one. And even if you could, it wouldn't change the fact that God witnessed this. So I have this gift. I'm tired of being a philosopher. I am tired of being a theologian. I am tired of being an organizer. I am tired of all of this garbage. I'm just a simple person who came back here and made an unbelievably supreme set of sacrifices to win this gift for you so that you could have it. All you have to do is take it. I know God has complicated my life a little bit. Because if God had just said, you know, all you have to do is give this to people, that's it, it's a done deal. I don't understand him, so I don't pretend to understand him. Especially from this earthly perspective. When I was in perfect final union with him, I understood perfectly. But when we come back here, it's like trying to take a swimming pool and put it in a teacup. Our minds are not big enough. I say in the Holy Book of Destiny, God is the one greatest mystery. Mind cannot grasp him, only spirit can know him. When I was in spirit in him, I knew it. But now I can't grasp it because I have to work through this thing called a mind. But I know what I know. My sacrifices were real. My perfect final unions with God were real. My self-realizations were real. My sacrifices were real. My vow of compassion was real, and God's new covenant and supreme promise are real. The only complication is that he said, whoever receives the true enlightenment of your holy initiation and follows you to the end of his life. How do you follow me? I don't know. I know I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to have little footsteps on the floor. You follow the little green footsteps and you'll get there. I don't know. Maybe you know. Maybe God will show you how to follow me if you receive his new covenant and supreme promise. I've tried to lay it out. I've tried to write it down. I've tried to script it out. I can't. I'm not that bright. I'm not that brilliant. And of course, others will come along and say, well, I am. I can do it for you. No, you can't. Because to do it, you have to be me. But maybe God will show you how to follow me. I don't know. Yes, I have practices. We have this holy sanctuary. You're supposed to come together in fellowship. But exactly what we do here isn't fixed. It's not carved in stone like the Ten Commandments. We know what we don't do here. We don't do anything evil in this hall. We don't do anything wrongful in this hall. We don't do anything insulting to God. If you can insult God. I'm not sure how you do that. But if we don't do anything that would be typically offensive to God in this hall. And so people say, well, tell me, Maitreya, exactly what do I have to do to follow you? And I say, exactly, I don't know. Maybe exactly you know in your heart. Maybe exactly God will tell you in your heart what you have to do to follow me. Isn't that kind of wonderful in a way? It's not fixed. It's not set. Because you're not set. There was once a king who had this bed made for him. And he was so enamored of this bed, it was a beautiful bed, that he invited people to come over and sleep in it. But those whose feet were too long had their feet cut off because the bed was the thing and they had to sleep in the bed. And those whose legs were too short had them put on the rack and had their legs stretched so that they would fit the bed. This isn't that kind of thing. All religions are, practically, in their decadent phase, but this one is not in its decadent phase. Hopefully it never will be. So how do you follow me? Check with God. Check with your heart. Because you know yourself, and God knows you better than I do. Oh, I know I'm supposed to be able to read your mind and tell your fortune. I don't do any of that garbage. I'm just a simple soul with a supreme gift that I won by making unbelievably supreme sacrifices and a vow of compassion that won God's new covenant and supreme promise for you. I hope in my heart of hearts that you will hear me. I hope that you will look into your heart and ask God to bring you to me and receive this gift, or to bring you to another Maitreyan. Because see, whoever receives this gift also receives the ordination, the authority, the anointing, and the power to transmit it to others. And when you transmit it to someone, I transmit it. And when I transmit it, God transmits it. So there's no end to this chain that can be made. And let us not have any schisms. Let's not have this group over here say, well, we meet at 2 o'clock on Joy Day. And this group over here says, well, we meet at 1 o'clock. So you're going to kill each other? Are you fools? Are you idiots? That's what's going on in the world. Yes. Let people have the latitude to follow me the way God moves their hearts to follow me. Freedom. Freedom. And we will see what God brings forth on this earth as a new religion. Let us not plan it out. We don't have the wisdom. I don't have the wisdom. You don't have the wisdom. Only He has the wisdom. And if enough people receive His new covenant and supreme promise and will follow me the way He moves their hearts to follow me, something will come out of this. Something good will come out of this. It'll be something that you can't expect. It's the unexpected religion. Who knows what it will be? And people will say, well, you've done this in the past, and you said we had to do this in the past. You said we had to... You asked me! And you wouldn't take no for an answer. And if you ask me again and won't take no for an answer, I'll tell you the best I can. But this religion, this way of life, this Maitreyan way of life, is something that must develop and unfold in the world according to God's design, not yours or mine or someone else's. I am the leader of this religion. God made me that way. I am the founder of this religion in this age. This is God's eternal universal religion. His eternal universal religion. This religion was around before the first soul was around. But in this age, He's made me the founder of it. I'm not worthy of it. I'm certainly not worthy of it to many of you. I'm not even worthy of it to me. The only thing that counts is apparently I'm worthy of it to Him. You don't like it? Take it up with the boss. So you see, we have this open road. We have this spacious sky. We have this canvas that is to be filled in not by my hand or by your hand, but by God's hand. And the way God guides people to follow me to the end of their lives will paint that picture. It will fill out that sky. It will develop that piece of film into a religion that is so unexpected, so unanticipated, that no one can predict it. No prophet can predict it. No saint, no Buddha, no Savior, no avatar can predict it. Only God knows. And you know what? I haven't even asked Him. Because that's not my job. My job is to have done what I did and won what I've won and offer it to you. Directly and through those who receive it from me. And from those who receive it, from those who receive it, from those who receive it. And so on until there are enough souls in this world who have God's new covenant and supreme promise and are following it according to His direction, that He will spontaneously, without qualification or reservation, spread His new covenant into the heart of every soul. And every soul will have the opportunity to go home into perfect final union with Him at the end of his or her life. We stand at the beginning. The religions of this world, good, bad, indifferent, sublime, beautiful, or ugly, are at the end of their travel. We are at the beginning. No one can predict. No one can predict the course that this religion will take in the world, except that it will be good. No one can predict it any more than you can predict how the water at the ocean down here is going to go through the breakwater. You can't tell the water, listen, this part of the water's got to go through that part of the breakwater, this has got to go through that. We try to do it. We build pipelines, we build culverts, we build all kinds of stuff, and then the ocean gets a little angry and tears them up and disposes of them. The water goes where the water goes. And this religion will become what God wants it to be, not what you think it should be, not even what I think it should be. I am an instrument of God's divine grace and mercy in this world. Just as ordinary as you are. The only difference is that God has given me an extraordinary, unbelievably extraordinary burden to bear. I bear it for you, not for me. Together, something will materialize. God will make of us a painting, a sculpture, a new religion that can't be anticipated, that can't be configured, that can't be outguessed. What can we do? Come and receive God's new covenant supreme promise. Follow me according to how He determines in your heart that you should follow me. Don't fight with one another over it. Respect one another, because God is going to tell this person to follow one way and going to tell this person to follow another way. Don't fight with each other over it and try to establish dominance. Let God paint the picture. Let God build the building. Let God create this religion the way He created this whole creation. He doesn't need your help. Be an instrument of God's divine grace in this world. Love one another. Respect one another. Freedom requires that when you put your hand up and say, freedom, that you're also respecting the hand of the other who puts his hand up and says, freedom. Even though you don't agree. Believe me, God knows what He's doing. He knows what the picture should be. You don't and I don't. It's like one of those little things you get when you're a kid that says, paint according to the numbers. And you don't know what it is until you've got most of the numbers painted. That's the way this religion is. So stop trying to get me to set every jot and tittle. Stop trying to get me to declare every single thing that needs to be done. If you ask me, I'll tell you what I know. What I know of myself is pretty meager, but what God gives me is pretty amazing sometimes. I marvel at it. But don't take that as the only thing, because you have your own dharma, your own karma, your own destiny. And God will lead you to follow in a way that is right for you. But He'll also lead her to follow in the way that's right for her, and him to follow in the way that's right for him. And out of it all, I don't know how long, but somewhere down the line, you'll fill in that one number and you go, oh, now I see the picture. It probably won't be us. It won't even be your children. It may be their children's children. But it will come to pass. In the meantime, let us concentrate on the one thing that is crucial. Let us concentrate on spreading God's new covenant and supreme promise to every soul who will receive it of their own free will and self-determination, but without cause of force, threat, coercion, intimidation, bribery, violence, or deception. This is our work. This is my work. I grow weary of philosophy, of theology, of jousting with people over intellectualisms. I'm just here to do what I'm here to do. I've done what I've done, and I've won what I've won, and it is here for you if you want it. If you want some super intellect, if you want some true blue guru that'll preach a philosophy to you, or a methodology to you. I have no particular methodology. You know that? Everybody out there has a methodology. The Sikh has a certain methodology. The yogi who is into Hatha Yoga has a methodology. The Jnana yogi has a methodology. The Methodists have a methodology. That's what I call them, Methodists, by the way.
I have no particular methodology. My only desire, my only purpose is to get you home into perfect final union with God. And whatever does that, that is not of evil or darkness, because evil or darkness can't get you there, is good enough for me. This is who I am. This is what I am. And this is who you are. Let us go about it as if our hair were on fire and we were looking for water to put it out. Because there's a very limited window here for us to save this world from self-destruction. And it gets smaller every day. Om Soham Tatvamasi. Om, you and I are one with the one universal God of all creation and no other. Jai Bhagavanji, victory to God the Beloved, that beloved universal I am, that I am, which you are.
Jai Bhagavanji.
Jai Bhagavanji.
All victory and glory to God the Beloved.
All victory and glory to God the Beloved.